Welcome to Season 2, Episode 11, Hearth's Warming Eve, the holiday special. Not a lot to say about this one other than it's very lore-focused, which you would think would mean I'm going to talk a lot about it, but honestly, I don't think so, really. Probably not going to do bad friend points for this one. I do have options, but it doesn't feel plot-relevant, if that makes sense, so I don't want to just throw them on there arbitrarily. We join this holiday special, the Hearth's Warming Eve, on a fun train ride with the main six. It seems like a lot of Ponyville. Also, Derpy46. More Teehee Fluttershy is quiet jokes. We also see the ladies are excited for some reason. They appear to be heading to Canterlot. And we're now actually seeing them take the train. And based on the speed it's going, it would probably take them like 15 to 20 minutes by train to get to Canterlot. So, time is still weird and wonky. Travel distance is still weird and wonky. I know we had someone in the comments mention a city underneath Canterlot. It still doesn't seem like it. This is the best shot we've gotten so far. And to be fair, there still seems to be like a forest covering most of our view. And I thought this weirdest color thing could be like a spire or something, but no. It looks like it's just part of the mountain. Man, I really want to see like a really good shot of the entirety of the mountain. Maybe we'll get there someday. I'm just going to trust that there probably is something down there, but I still haven't seen it directly. The girls are excited at Canterlot's festivities for the Hearth's Warming Eve. So much so that the CMC just kind of run off. By the way, the CMC are here too. Looks like it is indeed all of Ponyville. Twilight says that since they have so much they want to look at and see, they should play the I Spy game. But she calls it by its full title of I Spy with My Little Eye instead of just saying I Spy, which just completely caught me off guard. They also don't even play the game correctly. They just start saying what they're seeing. You're supposed to describe it and let people guess. It's a game for children, Twilight. How'd you mess this up? There are several very likely bonbons in this shot, but I'm gonna wait and see if we get a better shot. Okay, so now there's several bonbons and Lyras. Also, all the guards are looking directly at the camera, which is very spooky. But I'll start counting the duo now with Bonbon 60 and Lyra 52. Also, there's this pony over here, which seems to be wearing like a weird fitness headband. Not entirely sure what that's about. Derpy 47, front and center. Also, the reason for so many ponies going to Canterlot is for the play they're putting on about the founding of Equestria, before the three variants came together in harmony. However, for the main six, they're here to put on a play at the request of Princess Celestia. Given that their group consists of 2 of each pony type, it tracks that such a harmonious group would put it together. However, outside of Rarity, none of them really have any stage experience, so not entirely sure why they didn't get actual actors to do it. Maybe it's supposed to be done by friends and not professionals or something, just like in the spirit of the show, I guess. Rarity mentions that every town puts on their own play, but that Canterlot's is the largest and most important as a means to cheer up Fluttershy. More Pinkyisms here, though Pinky hasn't become the predominant user. Maybe I'll have to rename it for a while. Anyway, based on what Rarity said, wouldn't it make sense that Ponyville will put on its own play? Maybe when she says town, she means large cities instead, or Ponyville is considered a village and not a town, or some kind of semantic thing like that. Either way, don't cheer up the nervous people by telling them that they have a lot of reason to be nervous. We already did that in Season 1, Episode 20, so like, not again. Rarity upsets Fluttershy, then gets upset at Fluttershy for being upset, and now I'm upset at Rarity being upset at Fluttershy being upset. Don't make me give out more bad friend points in the lore episode. I won't yet, but you're on thin ice. We're actually seeing a bit of the lore of this episode play out right before it even starts, with Rarity the Unicorn asking Applejack the Earth Pony to close the windows, while Rainbow Dash the Pegasi just ignores all the problems and focuses on herself. Some good subtle foreshadowing before they explain everything. Rainbow is being vain again already. So glad those previous not 1 but 2 episodes trying to cut down that trait have been wasted. Applejack was trying to get Rainbow to pull back on the ego since the play is supposed to be about every pony and not just one pony, because Rainbow was doing like hype up stuff in the mirror. Given that everyone is acting kind of rough except for Twilight and Fluttershy, with Pinky just hurting Twilight while trying to help, I could give out a bunch of bad friend points, or none at all. I'll wait to see if Fluttershy and Twilight do anything bad, so if so, we can give everyone a point. Otherwise, I'll probably just leave it be. The main reason why I'm not just giving them out is because they aren't technically involved in the plot. It's mostly just meant to be a mirror of what's going to happen in the story, and the plot of the episode is the story, I guess, but they don't act that way during the play. Well, I mean, they do because they have to, because it's part of the act, but I don't know, man, it's complicated. We finally get a better view of the bonbons and Lyras, but I'm only counting them once this episode, since we know they're in the audience. If they appear in the play, I'll count them though. Also, the guards are staring directly at the viewer still, and it is still concerning. Oh right, Spike is doing the narration. But also, this is definitely a propaganda play for Celestia, since it literally starts off with, "Before the peaceful rule of Celestia." And I mean, it's not wrong, but it still feels weird to say outright. CMC getting front row sister privilege. Adorable. Here we see the general idea of how the tribes worked. The Pegasi lived in the clouds and had good finery, while the unicorns lived on the ground but above the earth ponies and had hierarchies, while the earth ponies play the role of the serfs, the lowest class of ponies, and people usually. However, before they started to try and interact with each other, they all sort of only cared about their own interests and just ignored the other ones. Like we expected, the Pegasi are still stewards for the weather even back then. In exchange for their weather management, they demand food from the earth ponies, since they can't grow anything in the skies. And if the earth ponies refused, the Pegasi would just distort the weather, demonstrating a clear hierarchy immediately between the tribes. The unicorns also demanded food. In exchange, they controlled the day-night cycle. Given how natural the Everfree Forest is, I imagine before the ponies controlled these things, they were simply natural phenomenon, which means that the ponies invented jobs that weren't needed just to extort resources, food, from one another. This is getting real way too fast. And when I say one another, I mean they just ganged up on the Earth ponies, which is really not cool. The ponies of old then threatened war over the fact that a mysterious blizzard took their lands by storm, making food scarce and preventing the Earth ponies from having enough food to quote-unquote pay for the others' quote-unquote services. The Earth ponies straight up couldn't farm. The Pegasi, while not as harshly affected by the weather, were all hungry as heck because they couldn't get any food from the Earths. The unicorns were hungry and cold, and that specificity does help soft confirm that Pegasi are highly resistant to all weather phenomenon. Also, the unicorn magic couldn't even stop the storm, so their superiority did not help them in that situation. I probably don't need to, but I'll specify perceived superiority. That being said, I've already made mentions in earlier episodes of how unicorns are just overpowered as hell. Yep, they use Lyra in the play despite her watching in the audience, so that's Lyra 53. Also, we see the original flags they all used. Pretty funny that the unicorns and Pegasi simply put their own visage on the flags, while the Earth ponies made theirs related to both their own nature and Mother Nature. It's details like these that really make you wonder if the whole Earth ponies are oppressed type of deal was intentional and was supposed to be like a commentary on various people being oppressed over the years. I don't know if it would be intentional, given how frequent of a thing it is throughout the series and how it's never even spoken of or addressed, but that would be a very, very good commentary if it's never spoken of or addressed, because it usually isn't. I can't exactly give the show praise unless I know for sure whether it was intentional or not, but anyone could claim it's intentional without there really being much proof. At the end of the day, there's still thought-provoking and fun details, so there's that. I should maybe clarify that for this episode it is very obviously intentional, but for the overarching series, even outside of this episode and other episodes from the past, it's still a thing that's looked at from time to time. Like, Earth ponies still are the ones doing most of the manual labor jobs and stuff, so I'm not sure if it still applies to the entire series or if it only applies for this episode, and if things have gotten better. Because I've already talked about the funniness of, oh man, all the ponies are racist, but they might be classist even. And in the Rarity episode recently, we did see that there was a unicorn doing physical labor, and we saw that there weren't a lot of Pegasi that were very wealthy, so maybe things have shifted a bit and gotten at least a little bit better, or at least the dynamic has changed. Rarity is playing Princess Platinum, daughter of the Pegasus King, whom I'm not sure we get to see. In fact, I'm pretty confident we don't get to see him. Rainbow Dash is playing Commander Hurricane, who is the direct ruler of the Pegasi, and this is a good demonstration of the unicorn superiority complex, being that their supreme ruler sends his daughter instead of coming himself. Also, this is a mention of a king in the series, which I talked about back in the season 2 premiere. I was like, oh, I don't remember there being that many kings being used, but hey, here we go, we got one. And lastly, Pinky is playing Chancellor Puddinghead, the leader of the Earth Ponies. Pinky's really not meshing with the dour vibes going on here, but good for her, I guess. And so all the leaders immediately argue incoherently instead of coming up with a plan or compromise. Classic politics. The argument is mostly as follows. The Earth ponies are hoarding food because they think the Pegasi are making it snow, and the Pegasi aren't making it snow and need food, so they accuse the unicorns of using their magic to make it snow. That's about it. I probably shouldn't need to clarify how little logic is used during this entire scene, so I'm not going to bother trying to dissect their reasoning, because there really isn't any. Continuing the pony racism, Earth ponies continue to think the other two are trying to screw everything up, while the Pegasi think that the Earth ponies are strictly stupid. Weirdly enough, the unicorns don't agree or also antagonize. They try to remove insults from the discussion, only for the Pegasi to double down. Here we see the weird Equestria ex machina that happens when disharmony and disorder are at an all-time high. Seeing as the ponies didn't worry about these things prior means that they manifested somewhere, somehow. I don't know if they tell us, but they might, so let's keep going. They don't. I swear they don't. The Pegasi calling the other ponies disrespectful despite being the only one to openly say racist remarks. The others were accusatory, but the Earth ponies literally can't cause this problem, so they had to assume it's the other two, while the unicorns just have superiority complexes. I guess big egos are just a part of Pegasi history. Strange how the Earth ponies are always looked down on. Pegasi are always egotistical, except for Fluttershy, but she can get like that when her animal skills are called into question. And the unicorns always think they're superior. Again, save for Rarity and Twilight, but they are elements of harmony. The elements of harmony are sort of like exceptions. There are still plenty of nice or humble unicorns and Pegasi, but those traits are most dominant in those races, which is strange to me. I'm mostly curious about the why. Pegasi are always above the others by staying in the clouds, so maybe that fostered it. And unicorns can do basically anything they put their minds to, so I can see why they would also develop that trait. The Earth ponies technically hold all the power, but generally just get upset over the other two using their weird abilities to control them. I'm sensing a lot of allegorical storytelling going on here, but don't entirely want to get too much deeper into it. Hopefully I've given enough hints that you can put the pieces together already if you don't already know. These torches are somehow in shadow, thus thus not producing much light, but we can also see a light circle attempting to convey that they are giving it off, but the shading over it betrays that and makes me chuckle. Each of the leaders go home to complain. The Pegasi make it seem like they want to go to war, while the unicorns and earth ponies seem to want to be isolationists. Okay, so the leaders all actually reach the same conclusion, which is they need to find new land away from the endless storm. Also, Commander Hurricane calls Fluttershy's character Private Pansy, which also caught me off guard. Some of the searches are played for laughs, while the unicorn search leads to Princess Platinum calling the other races bedrazzled and rough and tumbled, seeing them as less civilized and refined. I guess the keeping up public appearances thing is still a thing. Not saying anything rude to ponies' faces, but speaking behind their backs. It's a very unicorn trait, apparently. Well, not entirely, because they do talk down to other ponies, but when it comes to ponies that they want to associate with because of their influence, they maybe probably do it this way still. I don't know, I might be generalizing the traits a little bit too much. Actually, it looks like it's just a Princess Platinum trait, as she treats her fellow unicorns the same as she treats the others as well. So, it's just her being a pompous royal, you know. The Chancellor is just played for an idiot while the Secretary does the real work, again, mostly played for jokes, but the Chancellor is also just a jerk. So far, only the Pegasi treat their kind as equals, or at least with respect, while the others have shown more interpersonal conflict. Another interesting detail, I suppose. Also, this is kind of off topic of the episode, but the thought just entered my head when I said solidarity. When it comes to the main six, Twilight and Rarity have some level of connection, but it's not crazy there. But Fluttershy and Rainbow Dash have a lot of connection, and they're both the Pegasi. And Pinkie and Applejack, I think they may be the least developed pair of the entire main six. So, more thoughts. Each of the leaders all claim the new land they find that'll eventually be called Equestria, which of course will spark more conflict. Also, we see the earth ponies can just straight up grow plants. Their magic is such wasted potential in the series. We could have had some crazy plant abilities. This is probably just supposed to be a joke, but this mountain doesn't make sense geographically with the rest of the layout and be properly connected to this location. The Pegasi could have been placed anywhere and it would have made sense, but the unicorns just feel out of place. They seemingly missed coloring some of Twilight's face here. It shows up and then disappears. I thought it was like a dead pixel on my monitor at first, but no, it's just a random dark spot on her face. It shows up and then goes away almost immediately. And all their bickering causes the snow to follow them. The snow being caused by those weird creatures that we saw. I don't entirely remember their names exactly. I think they're supposed to be Windigos, which is a play on the Wendigo creature, though those two creatures share effectively zero things in common, other than the climate they seem to exist in, so I'm not sure why the pun was made there. Stop staring at me! They're all forced into a cave and have to share it. Hijinks and childish behavior ensue, as expected, and the Windigos find them, and the storm gets even worse. It should be noted that the leaders are the ones being childish, while the aides and the servants that are brought along are trying to talk out things normally. I'm seeing a lot of fun jabs at leadership in this episode. The leaders all get one more jab in at the others. Pegasi calling Earth ponies dumb, unicorns calling Pegasi brutish, and Earth ponies calling unicorn snobs. It seems like a lot of the stereotypes they keep using to demean one another are almost entirely targeted at the leaders themselves, despite the fact that they are declaring it about the entire race. Demonizing an entire race because of a small minority. Where have I heard such a thing before? Oh well, certainly a fantastical, unrealistic prospect. So apparently Twilight's character, Clover the Clever, was a student of Star Swirl the Bearded. Given what we learn from him in the future, I'm surprised most of his students come out to be good people. That might be a poor writing decision of some of the later series though, or he was just really stressed, and I mean, he had reason to be. Anyway, Clover is the one to identify the creatures as the Windigos and explain what they're about. So the Windigos are winter spirits that consume hatred, fighting, and conflict and grow. The more they get, the worse the storms get. Not sure where they came from or why they're only affecting the ponies now. I've dabbled with thinking magic is sentient, so maybe magic itself got tired of the tribes fighting. Not sure what the other races of the world are doing during all this. The Yaks are probably fine, dragons could probably handle it, sea ponies even to just dive down deeper. Even the Kirin probably could do something, but the changelings seems like they'd really struggle, same with the zebras. It's most likely just a localized effect of the storm, but it seems to reach really far, so I'm not entirely sure what its effective radius would be. The Yaks living in the mountains, which is where the ponies came from, so they probably were near each other and are also experiencing it, but the Yaks are way better at handling this than the ponies would be. And the three non-leader representatives make peace and share their ideals of them all simply being ponies who are different, which the Windigos don't particularly like. Always gotta be the unicorn ex machina. Although in this case, friendship is literally magic, so their sudden wholesome attitude triggering the magic to manifest or something makes a little bit of sense. Either way, since the power of friendship is actual magic source in this world, it's less deus ex machina and more just, unicorns are bull. Why don't the Pegasi and Earth ponies get access to friendship magic? Probably because, unlike unicorns, they can't get magic dedicated cutie marks or something like that. Giant fire heart symbolized the flame of friendship, me smart like fire friend. Jokes aside, I think this is supposed to be the embodiment of the warmth of friendship. ship being used to thaw the frozen hearts of hatred or something cheesy like that. That'd make the most sense to me. The three of the non-leaders all tell stories and sing songs, thus becoming closer and closer throughout the night, which starts to thaw and undo the damage dealt by the Windigos. Also, this is just, again, random, but I'm a little disappointed that we transitioned from the stage play into this, like, actually fully animated backstory. I think it would have been way more interesting to see the practical effects they're using for all of these moments. Like, how are they showing the cave? How are they showing it freeze over? How are they showing themselves freeze over? Feels like it could be a little bit more interesting and more creative. Despite no mention of Luna or Celestia in this story, this is supposedly when they found Equestria, and this is apparently the flag they chose. Choosing alicorns is normal and expected as a representation of all their races, but why those color schemes? I guess Celestia's is a bit weird and kind of wrong, but this could also have been her main color before the rainbows. But their cutie marks are in the center, so I guess it could just be a coincidence? Or maybe magic itself chose Luna and Celestia from birth, like how the main six were chosen to be the elements of harmony? Regardless, this feels weird. There's also 41 stars in this flag, which is almost the meaning of life, but also Twilight's number and fall with her friends. That'd be a wacky coincidence if it lined up. I doubt the stars are significant like the US flag, but it's probably supposed to represent the sky and stars and, usual stuff. Not going to do a song review for this one since it just appears to be a jolly Christmas carol, and after listening to it fully, it's just a friendship-focused song, nothing to really talk about. And they all start arguing immediately after Twilight says that Celestia chose them to exemplify good friends. Classic. But they all cut their crap after hearing a Wendigo shriek. Good job. Outro. And that was Season 2, Episode 11, Hearthswarming Eve. I personally don't like this episode because I find this episode to be very fun on a first watch through, but then every subsequent watch through it just becomes a slog and is really annoying. So yeah. Also, they dedicate way too much of the episode to slapstick and hijinks, even though we're supposed to be learning about the history of Equestria, so there's like, we can't think of enough stuff to put in here, so we're just gonna throw in some nonsense stuff. Woo. I think I'm just gonna give this probably a 6. It has a wholesome song, and there's nothing like egregious in it. It's just a wholesome story. Just a classic Christmas tale, but it's nothing revolutionary or interesting, and none of the characters really shine or anything like that. So yeah.